Have you ever stood at the brink of utter despair, only to witness a miracle that defies every limitation you once believed? In the story of Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, one such moment became the climax of a nation's liberation. Trapped between Pharaoh's army and an impassable sea, the children of Israel found themselves facing near certain doom until Allah split the waters before their very eyes. Join us as we journey into the breathtaking account of the Exodus and the Red Sea crossing, where faith overcame fear and destiny shifted under divine command. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Welcome to the 5th episode in our series on the life of Prophet Musa, peace be upon him. Over the previous segments, we've explored Musa's miraculous survival in Pharaoh's palace, his encounter with the burning bush, his confrontation with the magicians, and the signs that plagued Pharaoh's Egypt. Today, we arrive at one of the most iconic events in religious history, the exodus of the children of Israel from bondage and their extraordinary passage through the Red Sea. The final push toward freedom began after Pharaoh and his people experienced a series of devastating signs, sometimes referred to as plagues. Repeatedly, Pharaoh promised to release the Israelites if the calamity ceased, only to go back on his word once relief arrived. This cycle of deceit culminated in a decisive moment when Allah commanded Musa to lead the children of Israel away from Egypt under the cover of night. Surah Ash-Shu'ara 26:52 highlights this directive. And we inspired to Moses, "Travel by night with my servants. Indeed, you will be pursued." Under Musa's guidance, the Israelites gathered their belongings and silently departed, embarking on a journey they believed would take them to the land promised by Allah. Escaping the watchful eyes of Pharaoh's soldiers demanded courage and faith. For many, slavery had become their entire reality. Stepping into the unknown required them to trust fully in Musa's leadership and, more importantly, in the power of the Almighty. The hush of the midnight exodus created a tension that would soon escalate when Pharaoh discovered their departure. Predictably, Pharaoh's outrage was immediate upon learning that his enslaved workforce had fled. Despite every sign he had witnessed, he mobilized his chariots and soldiers to recapture the Israelites. In Surah Taha 20:77-78, the Quran narrates Pharaoh's pursuit. Allah said, "And we had inspired to Moses, travel by night with my servants and strike for them a dry path through the sea. You will not fear being overtaken by Pharaoh, nor be afraid of drowning." So Pharaoh pursued them with his soldiers, and there covered them from the sea that which covered them. Even as Pharaoh advanced with his formidable army, Musa and his people pressed onward, guided by divine assurance. Eventually, the Israelites reached a barrier that seemed insurmountable, the Red Sea, often referred to as the Sea of Reeds or a body of water in that region, according to various interpretations. Staring at the vast expanse of water, they could hear the thunderous approach of Pharaoh's chariots behind them. Panic gripped many in the group as they felt trapped, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The Quran captures their desperation and Musa's unwavering resolve in Surah Ash-Shu'ara 26:61-62. And when the two companies saw one another, the companions of Moses said, "Indeed, we are to be overtaken." Moses said, "No, indeed with me is my Lord, he will guide me." In that intense moment, Allah revealed the command that would reshape the course of history. Musa was instructed to strike the sea with his staff. Thus far, that staff had transformed into a serpent, devoured the magician's illusions, and served as a potent symbol of divine power. Now, it would manifest perhaps its greatest wonder. When Musa obeyed, the waters parted, forming walls on each side and opening a passage of dry land in between. The scene can hardly be overstated. An entire body of water moved aside by the will of Allah, creating a pathway to salvation. The Israelites, still in awe of this unfolding miracle, began to cross. Many likely rushed forward, hearts pounding, anxious that the walls of water might collapse at any moment. For those who had known nothing but hardship and slavery their whole lives, this corridor through the sea was the beginning of a new chapter, one defined by faith, responsibility, and the promise of a free land. Step by step, they traversed the sandy seabed, hurrying their flocks and belongings, determined to stay ahead of Pharaoh's army. Pharaoh, blinded by rage and delusions of invincibility, ordered his men to charge into the sea after them. This decision to follow the Israelites into a supernatural pathway demonstrated his unrelenting pride. Despite seeing the water stand in massive walls, he still believed he could capture or annihilate the fleeing community. In Surah Yunus 10:90, the Quran records the moment Pharaoh realized his folly. In Surah Yunus 10:90, the Quran records the moment Pharaoh realized his folly. And we took the children of Israel across the sea, and Pharaoh and his soldiers pursued them in tyranny and enmity, until when drowning overtook him, he said, "I believe that there is no deity except that in whom the children of Israel believe." Pharaoh's admission, tragically, came too late. Just as the last of the Israelites stepped onto safe ground, the waters that had miraculously parted swept back into place. Pharaoh and his army, caught in the heart of the sea, were overwhelmed by the crashing tide. Chariots, weapons, and men who once terrorized an entire nation vanished beneath the waves. With this cataclysmic act, the might of Pharaoh was decisively dismantled. Surah Al-Baqarah 250 succinctly reminds believers of this deliverance. "And recall when we parted the sea for you, and saved you and drowned the people of Pharaoh while you were looking on." The drowning of Pharaoh stands as a potent symbol of divine justice and the inevitable end for those who persist in arrogance and oppression. For years, Pharaoh had claimed godhood, subjugating the children of Israel and challenging the very existence of the one true God. Yet, at his final breath, he recognized the truth he had rejected, albeit too late for redemption. The Quran mentions in Surah Yunus 10:92 that Allah preserved Pharaoh's body as a sign for future generations, a stark testament to the fate of tyrants who refused to heed divine warnings. On the shores beyond the sea, the children of Israel stood free for the first time in generations. Their exodus was complete, and the specter of enslavement had been washed away with the tide. The gravity of the moment would shape their collective identity. They were no longer a mass of slaves, but a people chosen to receive divine guidance and form a covenant with Allah. Gratitude for their liberation blended with a sense of awe and responsibility, for this was only the beginning of their journey. From a broader perspective, the Red Sea crossing highlights the power of faith under impossible circumstances. When cornered by Pharaoh's chariots, the children of Israel could have surrendered to despair. Instead, they followed Musa's unwavering trust in Allah. The miracle they witnessed exemplifies a universal truth, that the Creator can provide solutions far beyond human comprehension, turning the most hopeless scenarios into paths of salvation. For Prophet Musa himself, this triumph was another step in his prophetic mission. He had already braved exile, confronted Pharaoh, displayed miracles, and endured the stubborn disbelief of the Egyptian tyrant. Now, he bore the responsibility of guiding a newly freed nation. With Pharaoh gone, Musa's next challenge involved shaping a community whose faith had been tested and whose future demanded strong moral and spiritual leadership. The crossing of the Red Sea was a pivotal victory, but it also introduced new trials, ones that would test the mettle of every Israelite. Historically and spiritually, the Exodus narrative transcends its immediate context. it resonates in the collective memory of believers across generations. In Jewish tradition, it is central to the festival of Passover. In Islamic teachings, Musa's perseverance and the children of Israel's deliverance stand as powerful examples of Allah's mercy and justice. Throughout the Quran, believers are urged to recall this story as a reminder that oppression never lasts, and that Allah always hears the cries of the downtrodden. The miraculous nature of the Red Sea event also exposes the limits of human arrogance. Pharaoh's entire empire was built on the false premise that he was a living God. His illusions of control extended to the economy, military, and even religious life of Egypt. The miraculous nature of the Red Sea event also exposes the limits of human arrogance. Pharaoh's entire empire was built on the false premise that he was a living God. His illusions of control extended to the economy, military, and even religious life of Egypt. Such stories remind us that faith must be coupled with action. Musa followed Allah's command and struck the sea with his staff. The Israelites stepped onto the dry path with courage. Had they remained paralyzed by fear, the outcome might have been very different. This balance between divine intervention and human endeavor recurs throughout the Quran. Believers are called to trust fully in Allah, while also taking the necessary steps prescribed by revelation. The Red Sea crossing further underscores the notion that sometimes the most daunting barriers in life can be the threshold to liberation. What appeared to be a dead end for the children of Israel became the doorway to freedom. In every era, communities and individuals may face their own symbolic seas, seemingly insurmountable obstacles that test faith to its limits. The lesson is simple yet profound. When trapped by adversity, one should maintain hope in Allah's wisdom and might, for He can transform barriers into passages of growth and deliverance. For the children of Israel, freedom brought both relief and responsibility. They would soon embark on a journey through the wilderness, guided by revelations that would shape their identity as a distinct community of believers. Despite witnessing unparalleled miracles, they would face doubts, temptations, and lapses of faith. A reminder that even direct encounters with the divine do not guarantee unwavering devotion. Humanity's struggles with consistency in faith is a recurring theme in sacred history. As a defining moment in Musa's mission, the Exodus and Red Sea crossing reverberate far beyond the ancient Near East. The story champions the powerless, offering hope that tyrannies, no matter how entrenched, can be dismantled when truth and faith stand firm. It delivers a cautionary tale to oppressors, illustrating how unrepentant arrogance meets with swift downfall. And for every believer, it affirms that Allah's plan is inexorable, weaving miraculous outcomes through the tapestry of human effort and divine grace. In conclusion, the Exodus and Red Sea crossing stand as a dramatic testament to Allah's power, justice, and mercy. At the brink of annihilation, the children of Israel found their path opened by the Almighty's hand, while Pharaoh's tyranny was washed away in the rushing tides. This event shaped a nation's destiny, validated Musa's prophethood, and continues to inspire believers of all backgrounds with its timeless lessons on faith, perseverance, and the triumph of truth. In our subsequent episodes, we will follow Musa and the newly freed Israelites as they navigate the challenges of independence, revelation, and covenant. May this reflection on their deliverance deepen our trust in Allah's guidance and strengthen our resolve to stand against oppression in all its forms. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of all creation, and may peace and blessings be upon His noble messenger, Muhammad, and upon all who follow the path of righteousness until the day of judgment.